Assalamu alaikum. Bonjour tout le monde. Welcome to this important and timely session. We're pleased to have you joining us here today in this session titled Shaping Africa's Future, Driving Growth, Fintech, Innovation as Game Changers. We're gathered here today at this session not just to observe trends, but to engage in a purposeful dialogue on how fintech and digital innovation are transforming the African continent. Africa is undergoing a remarkable digital transition, and at the heart of this transformation lies a powerful catalyst, which is fintech, a tool that is enabling millions, especially those previously excluded from the formal financial system, to access and benefit from modern financial tools and services. However, this transformation also brings challenges and important questions around governance, infrastructure, education, and regulation. How do we ensure the right balance between innovation and oversight? And how can public-private cooperation and collaboration create more inclusive and sustainable growth? Today, I was charged with this beautiful responsibility, which is to be your moderator for this session. My name is Mariam Qassou. I work as a tech entrepreneur. I specialize in data transformation. And I am today privileged to be joined by an exceptional group of panelists. With us today, Madame Ife Okeke. She is the founder and CEO of Lexon Capital, an advisory firm based in Nigeria with over 25 years of experience across law, investment banking, and private equity and real estate. Ife brings a sharp strategic lens to the financial development of the continent. She sits on multiple corporate boards across sectors, including telecom, healthcare, pensions, and currently she chairs key governance and strategy committees at Legend Internet PLC and Veritas Glanville Pension Fund. Also with us today, Madame Inès Léonard-Duzy. She is the president and founder of Digital for the Planet, a leading voice in digital sustainability and inclusion. She's an international speaker, an author, a professor at Sciences Po. Her NGO has brought digital education to over 300,000 Europeans, particularly targeting underprivileged communities. Inès also, she is widely recognized for her policy influence across France and Europe and has delivered global talks institutions such as with high caliber institutions such as the UN and Stanford. With us today also, Mr. Mustafa Zawini. He is the chairman of AI in Africa, and he's a seasoned tech entrepreneur with 2 decades of experience in mobile money and telecom and fintech through ventures like Fliptin. He focuses on frontier markets and youth empowerment. His leadership creating inclusive AI ecosystems makes him a key player and a key voice in shaping Africa's innovation future. With us also, my good friend, Mr. Scott Goodstein. He is the founder and CEO of Catalyst Campaigns. He is a global strategic communication firm. He is widely known for his groundbreaking work in political digital strategy, having led digital efforts for Barack Obama's campaign, the 2008 campaign, and Bernie Sanders' campaign also. His global reach spans multiple continents, and his expertise in messaging and public engagement has helped him reshape how modern campaigns and causes connect with diverse audiences. Also, Mr. Ismail Belkhiyat. He is the founder and CEO of Shari, a driving force behind Morocco's tech entrepreneurship boom. After working at BCG, he launched several successful ventures, including Sarouti.ma, a leading real estate platform, and Chauffeur.ma, later acquired by Avis. With a track record of scaling businesses and creating jobs, Ismail exemplifies the entrepreneurial spirit powering Africa and Morocco's digital economy. With us also, to my left, Dr. Khalid Ismail. He is the founder and chairman of Kiango, an angel investment fund focused on early-stage Egyptian startups, a prolific innovator, academic, and investor. He previously founded Sysoft, Soft, right? Which was acquired by Intel and served as managing director at Intel Mobile Communications with over 160 published papers. That's a huge number. So he has a deep experience in tech policy. Khalid is a cornerstone in Egypt's innovation ecosystem. Last but not least, we have Mr. André Agid. He is the president of Global Africa and founder of Gaia, a digital platform design agency with over 20 years experience advising institutions on digital strategy. Andre has digital transformation initiatives. He led digital transformation initiatives across media, education, and public sectors. He's also a former managing director of the Pan-African TV channel Télé Sud and remains committed to advancing Africa's voice in the digital space. So this is regarding our exceptional group of panelists. So to set the stage, let me start with you, Madame Ifi. In your extensive experience with investments and governance, how can African governments and financial regulators create a supportive ecosystem that balances innovation with consumer protection to ensure fintech's long-term success?
Thank you very much for having me here. As we've seen over the last 5 years or 6 years, we've seen tremendous investment in technology, especially in fintech across Africa. And one of the advantages of having fintech is that not only does it allow for market penetration in individual countries, but it also allows for cross-border payments and transactions. AFTA, one of the main vision or missions of AFTA is to ensure that countries can transact business easily. So not only just the movement of persons, but also movement of services, and services includes, transactions all across different sectors. Africa has faced challenges of having multiple currencies, multiple financial policies, and fintech is seen as a tool to actually bring countries together. Unfortunately, fintech has met with some challenges, and one of those is the regulatory policies across countries. And the way countries can help fintech grow over time is to ensure that, one, the regulation is tailored to the products. So the financial regulator needs to understand the products and the services fintech provides. They also have to understand that it's an evolving market, that technology evolves very quickly, and the regulator has to be on board with innovation. Another thing is that the regulator has to ensure that there are clear laws regarding digital assets and crypto assets. And this ensures that not only the the fintech companies understand the regulation, but also the consumers understand the regulation. So it's very important that regulatory policies are very transparent and very easy to understand. The other thing I think is very important in this sector is regulators supporting the ecosystem around startups. So the regulators should encourage one-stop shops for fintech companies, ensuring that these one-stop shops provide them with technical expertise, legal understanding, understanding of the regulatory framework, and also able to connect them with venture capital firms and other support systems. The regulator, at the same time, can strengthen financial service systems around fintech companies by also ensuring that they comply with international, global regulation, especially when it comes to AML. AML is anti-money laundering policies, ensuring that those policies are in place and that fintech companies obey these policies. This ensures that the market is stable and also consumers are protected as well. So I think as long as regulators work in a collaborative fashion with fintech companies, without actually stifling the innovation around those startups, it's important. I think that the sector has great potential for Africa. It has the potential to link countries together. It has the potential to drive economic growth across countries within the continent. So it's important that the regulators in each country be more collaborative with other countries. I think maybe one of the things that AFTA or the African Union should consider is also having a kind of uniform policy around fintech companies to ensure that there's certainty in terms of regulation and that fintech companies can open offices all across Africa. I know that companies like Flutterwave have offices in Kenya, not just in Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, Ghana, etc. Hopefully other fintech companies can do more of that. Flutterwave has been able to achieve, I think, 30 countries, penetration in 30 countries in Africa, across and operating with 30 different currencies. I think we need to see more of that. And regulators can do more to encourage other companies to follow suit. Thank you.
Thank you, Ify. You've touched on the importance of the systemic support that is needed to the current challenges that unfortunately can or are preventing our continent from thriving. Let's now shift to inclusion, which can be a driving force to overcome these challenges. I'll switch to you, Ines. So today, with digital inclusion being one of the major challenges, how can African countries strategically integrate fintech innovations into their educational and social systems to empower rural and marginalized communities? What role can cross-sector partnerships play in this effort?
Hello, everybody can hear me? Amazing. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you for this question. First of all, I think we must teach women and men why and how to talk about money. It's maybe a prerogative, it's something, maybe it's better like this. It's a priority. Educate them how they can enrich themselves so they will be confident in how to enrich and finance their country, their region, globally. People, and especially women, need more expertise on finance and in prospective sectors. This is extraordinarily key. Also, we need to learn global finance, how global finance works, but at term, Africa must develop his own vision of capitalism or any other form of growth and future. This is about leadership and sovereignty. We need to build more bridges between young people, wherever their social and educational background is, highlighting them, is empowering them. They will empower themselves if they are seen, recognized by their peers, wherever they came from. Diplomas are great, but energy, ambition, perseverance, resilience, you'd be surprised where it can come from. Not necessarily where money and education is. Connecting young people between them in Africa, but also with the rest of the world is also key. We need cooperation, and cooperation is not something natural. You must learn it, you must develop it. Also, we need engagement. Like I said, cooperation from which an educated part of the population to go and see, go and talk, go and lead by example, and maybe go and support by any means. And definitely, the core solution is education. Digital sustainability as well as AI should be taught in school because this is the way Africa can organize itself. Africa is silently supposed to remain the back kitchen of the world, and this is not okay. So the key sectors are digital sustainability globally, how we can develop technologies on a sustainable way, resilience, AI, and also, of course, cybersecurity. We unfortunately don't talk enough about it, but cybersecurity is also key. Rabat is aiming to become a super safe city, for example, but a safe city is a city that protects its economy, and today economy is digital, and today digital can be very harmful, even deadly. For example, quickly, 6 attacked company on 10 will die within the 6 months. A cyber-attacked, ransomed company who is taking time to get back its data is heavily damaged. Reputation-wise, financially, it costs between 60K and 180K to recover a new client. By then, went to see the competition for a long time. So to end this part, while you're financing your company, we are here to talk about financing growth, but financing your company, it's also train your people to protect it, to recognize attack patterns, and to know in which world we are living in. And that's why I come back to the beginning. Cooperation bridges education.
Thank you, Ines.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for this perspective that brings up the vital intersection between innovation that is mainly led by youth, and we are in a continent that is luckily a young continent, and AI and technology. I'll switch to you, Mustafa, with your work on youth empowerment and frontier technologies. As Fintech and AI coverage, how can African leaders ensure that these technologies are harnessed to foster local innovation and create solutions that address the continent's unique need, rather than just duplicating solutions that are made somewhere else and by people who face maybe challenges that are different than ours?
Thank you, Mariam. Thank you. I want to thank also the organizers for the invitation here. I think it's great to have all these different people interconnecting and trying to discuss, going in the same direction and trying to discuss our future, because that's what we actually, as a society, is trying to do.
Mustafa, can you please?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So I was just thanking the organization team for today's event. Ines, actually, I wanted to bounce back before I go on to the discussion on some of the points that you mentioned. So I've been in fintech for quite a long time, and first of all, innovation in fintech, we already leapfrog as a continent. You can see some of the behaviors that now today we have in Spain, in Europe, or whatever. We've been doing that already since 2008, 2009, 2010 in some markets. I've been involved in mobile money for quite a long time. And so the behavior, we already have been innovative in how you're using new tech at that time, and just basic technology. That's an important aspect. And also multilingual technology. The other aspect is that you mentioned an important aspect around education of men and women around money, right? And actually, I did run a survey. We did a qualitative, actually a large survey in Nigeria. And actually, women as we were building a new tech and a new license actually in Nigeria, women actually were the decision maker in the household actually about the money, right? And that was an important fact because then we had to build a solution towards that. In terms actually, in that case, it was to pay for TV and so on, but actually, you know, that was that, and the kids were the one that were much closer. So we had to actually build some technology around that, and that's bringing me to what to answer your question, right? Part of the answer is for our leaders is that you need to build an inclusive design into your technologies, right? You need to think about what problem you're solving, whether it's in payment in my case, or else, but basically, is it rural? Is it, you know, a revenue or income? Language is an important aspect because sometimes we forget. I mean, here we have multiple languages in this country, in Morocco, right? But other countries, let's say South Africa, we had to build solutions with 10 different languages. In Nigeria, different languages, different communities, and so on. So today, you know, localization, hyper-localization is an important aspect on AI. And on fintech, and if you're trying to merge the two. So inclusive design, I think it was very important. The other point is scalability and infrastructure. I mean, ultimately, you know, we already have, when you want to bridge the challenges of fintech and AI, you know, first of all, data has a cost. Infrastructure has a cost. We have very little data stored in the continent. I think it's around 1% of the African data is stored on the continent. We talked this morning, there was some session around data centers and so on. So how do you scale? How do you have an infrastructure that has a low cost actually on the continent in order for you to be able to use it? And then the other aspect is interoperability. I mean, interoperability, now we're seeing it happening in some markets, including Morocco, where actually but what we've seen really the impact of interoperability recently was in Tanzania and Kenya, where we see actually real interoperability that we've been waiting for years around mobile money and that. And that means shared infrastructure. That means shared cooperation in order to implement this type of interoperability. The third aspect is probably the most important one in our view because we've been working with actually kids and girls, actually 15 to 18 years old since 2018 on democratization of AI. At that time, AI was not the buzz as it is today, but the point is that you need to start very early. And the third aspect really, and maybe sometimes we're too late already, is local talent, right? How do we develop local talent? How do we develop local talent? How do we empower local talent to actually understand the complexity, whether on cybersecurity, whether actually data ownership, data sovereignty, right? It's topics today that are a little bit more advanced, but really, ultimately, when we talk about regulation, we're only exploring really. I mean, we're still at the beginning within an Africa continent around a common regulation around data sovereignty. Do we go on the east side or on the west side? I mean, you know, what are the challenges that we're doing around that? So that come back to an important aspect, I think, what we've seen in AI now. If we just think that AI is a tool, then we're wrong, because it's not just a tool. We need to actually be able to change that tool to make it very close to our own local values, right? Our own local dialects. So we work on voice AI. I will talk a little bit more about this type of aspect. Our own local use cases, right? We cannot compete necessarily in building a large open type platform without naming companies in the US or else, and there's too many players. But something is happening now, and recently we ran a bootcamp actually in Morocco here for SMEs. Something happened now that I'm a strong believer of open source AI, and that open source AI will provide democratization of us to access the data locally and be able to transform it and be able therefore to adapt it to local use cases. And therefore, I would suggest there that basically in order for us to adapt AI, it's not a question of adoption, of AI when we talk about an African continent, but it's actually how do we actually be participating in driving it, not just to be able to be using it, not just to be a customer in this case, but actually how do we shape it to make it local and ours.
We will for sure get back to that point, but one of the major elements you mentioned that were very, very interesting is the importance of language. Language is indeed a key element to be taken into consideration as a cultural character of data or any innovation. And any innovative initiatives. So language, communication. So Scott, you're the expert here regarding communication, and you advised movements and companies around the world. So from a communication perspective and global advocacy perspective, what strategies should the African fintech companies adopt to position themselves as global leaders in fintech innovation while staying authentic to the local context?
Sure. One, it's an honor to be back at Amadeus Institute with this esteemed group of colleagues, and thanks to King Mohammed VI and all of the staff here at Amadeus for putting this discussion together. I think that Africa is in a unique place in the world where you have the ability to leapfrog all sorts of international technology, but do it the right way, and learn from the mistakes that you've seen happen in the US. Learn from the mistakes that you've seen happen in other places in the world. Cherry pick the best and the brightest from Europe's data privacy laws. In the US, we have almost zero data privacy laws. Learn from where government is too fast and too slow, but keep this to solving your own African origin stories. What problems are needed, and build technology to answer those problems. And so I don't think do things that are needed in the US faster, cheaper, with outsourcing. I think solve the problems and build upon your own story, but take from all the lessons. So learn what went wrong with Coinbase, learn what went wrong with Bitcoin and NFT. Make sure that you're telling a story to educate grandma and grandpa about the good and the bad around mobile. And by the way, Africa's already there. You are the innovators of mobile technology far, far past. So we're already in second, third generation funding of mobile technology. Learn what didn't work with M-Pay and some of the other mobile tech. Learn what is the next. And so to me, that's how you communicate your story. You already have this amazing story that you're faster than everybody else in the world in mobile technology. Build upon that story to solve the next problems and the next solutions.
Thank you, Scott. Let's move from a com perspective and its importance to infrastructure and scale. Ismail, based on your experience building and scaling Shari's app across the continent, what are the key structural and infrastructural changes that need to happen to enable SMEs and small companies to thrive in the fintech ecosystem?
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for your invitation. Myself, I'm running one of the very few fintechs here in Morocco. We've been very fortunate to get granted a financial institution license by the Central Bank of Morocco that is today allowing us to work on financial inclusion. So we help mainly the SMEs, the small grocery stores, the independent retailers, with understanding all the benefits financial inclusion can bring to them. So we try to first train them, educate them, to use a long suite of services from an online payment gateway, if they say online, to a hard POS or a soft POS if they sell digitally in their physically in their stores. We open payment accounts for them, we do their KYC, and then we provide them with debit cards, namely Visa, that is one of our investors. No, of course, all of them have issues regarding financial inclusion. And the main issue that comes to their mind is, will we be taxed by the local authorities if we start using your systems? Our data may be shared, people will look at what we do, and we will probably end up paying taxes. So that's the objection number one, but that's not the only one. They also come to us and say, look, before we used to get paid in cash, and the money was landing immediately into our pockets that we were then using to pay our suppliers. Now that we use your POS devices, the settlement time is 2 days, and we don't have the needed working capital to fund the solution. And our suppliers are asking to get paid immediately when your solutions are paying us after 2 days. And this is a big issue. And then, you know, these small SMEs, let's call them even unipersonal companies, are by definition a small team, and sometimes even a one-man show. And these guys don't have the human resources to do conciliation. So when they look at their bank accounts and find out after 2 days that they have received a certain amount of money that is coming from all the sales over the last 2 days, they get mixed, they get lost with reconciliation and finding out what the amounts are related to. They need to find the slips and make the maths and find out what is the commission, and so on and so on. And I'm just giving a few reasons, but there are others, including the commission that is taken, including the cost of the POS, and so on and so on. So to answer your question, if we want to help with financial inclusion in Morocco, we need the local government to help potentially with subsidies, maybe offering the devices to the shops, or even subsidizing the cost of the transactions. We've seen in the US, and my friend was talking about how the US is advanced, and thank you for reminding us how great you are. But in the US...
I tried to literally do the opposite, but yes.
In the US, you guys have given a lot of tax cuts for all those merchants who in the 90s, in the early 2000s, were early adopters and were selling online. And I remember how in some states, in the United States, if you were selling online, you weren't paying any VAT. And this is great. And again, and using you as a model, we should get a lot of inspiration from you guys.
Thank you, Ismail. Indeed, I think I totally agree with you regarding that governance should give incentives and motivation to startups in order to lead these innovations. And I'm glad to know that Shadi got the right people and the right investors. And talking about investment, I will turn to you, Dr. Khalid. Given your extensive investment background, what are the key indicators that will determine the success of a fintech startup in Africa precisely, and how can investors support sustainable and scalable ventures in this space?
Thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation from Amadeus, and obviously Morocco as a host country. Very proud to be here. Let me try first to, before I answer the question directly, summarize what the transactions are when it comes to fintech, or in general, financial transactions. If I make them very simple, you're either paying somebody, or you're being paid, or you're borrowing money, or you're saving money. Between those four, you can summarize, very simply said, what financial transactions normally are. And for those who are banked, they do all four through the bank. That's very normal that you go to the bank, you can make a payment, you can receive your money transferred to your bank account, or you can borrow or deposit and save money. Now, when we look at startups, they come to us with one or more of these functions that they promise to do now in a technology way instead of the bank. And I asked them the question, first of all, banks are banks. They are solid institutions. They are very strong. Why didn't the bank do it? And I know the answer, but I'm just trying to see whether that startup knows how to penetrate a market as big as that of fintech. And the short answer is banks are very happy and comfortable with some layer of the society that deals with bigger amounts of money, where the overhead of the bank, including the credit department, including all departments in a bank, are worth it. Now, the startup should, in a way, deal with a different segment that is typically unbanked, because the amounts of money they do, or the whole transactions, or the credit and so on, is something the bank would not do for this individual or for this very small company. And in that respect, I think what we're witnessing now is that lots of startups came at some point and they were doing me too. Me too. Okay, I'm a payment gateway. I allow X to pay Y. I allow X to pay Y. And it became like a trend. Of course, some early comers, Flutterway or Fawry in Egypt or others, were there before the rest. And for them, the system allowed them to do that. They had time and they grew very, very nicely. But nowadays, if I am to invest in a new startup, when they come to me and they say, I'm going to be another Flutterware, or I'm going to be another Fawry and so on, I say, what's new? And the answer should be, and some are doing it already, is the marriage or the combination of fintech and AI. Okay, now I summarize the transactions. If you want to make an investment, AI can tell you where, what to invest, give you guidance today that nobody can do. Okay, the bank will not sit with you and tell you how to invest, $50. That's not worth the time of the bank, but AI will. The bank will not do credit worthiness and study and send you to their credit department if you're trying to borrow $200. It's too expensive to do any credit study on somebody who wants to borrow $200. Whereas AI can do that maybe in seconds or in minutes, through your history, through everything. It can go even through your social media. It can just, do anything that you think about to tell the startup that is giving you or borrowing you the money that you are worth that investment. So the coupling of AI and fintech is something, as an investor, I would nowadays look for. Otherwise, I think straightforward payment gateways are too old-fashioned now. I wouldn't invest in them. Now, the marriage, again, of fintech and the sectoral know-how is also very important. So the agricultural sector needs certain financial services in a certain payment cycle and so on. They have a long cycle. They put all their money for 3 months and then they get the reward at the end. That's typically the problem of agriculture. It's a long cycle of investment and then money comes later. Now, that needs financing typically, and they finance it from the previous round. But because it's hand to mouth, it doesn't allow them to develop new technologies or to do anything out of the box, because it's just a recycling of the same money that they earned last cycle, they put it in the new cycle, and so on. But if there is a know-how of the technology that gets combined with a loan system for agriculture, for instance, that takes a 3-month, 4-month, that's all what you need, cycle into consideration, the whole sector can be changed upside down. And I'm just giving that as an example. There are other examples, of course. Each sector needs to have its own domain of fintech services. So we're nowadays, as investors, looking for startups that really understand a niche. A niche means, okay, if I put fintech combined with AI in agriculture, this is my product, okay? And that's something that could be sexy. And it sounds like a niche, but it's still, hundreds of billions in any country in Africa, because agriculture is so important. It could be also manufacturing. And again, the cycle is different in manufacturing compared to agriculture. You have to do procurement, so you have to pay for your raw material, for things. Again, AI can help you find the best places, the best prices, the best quality, and so on. So as an investor, I always nowadays look for that combination of fintech plus AI plus sectoral knowledge. A startup that has that combination is a startup that I can talk to.
Thank you, Dr. Khalid, for this crucial piece of information, especially for startups and those trying to pursue an entrepreneurial journey. Choosing a niche or a specific, a sector-specific product in order to attract investors is a crucial information. And unfortunately, I received information from the organizers. We have to round off this round of questions in order to leave 15 minutes for the questions. So I will ask my last question to you, Mr. André. So how can African governments leverage fintech to create citizen-centric digital platforms that bridge the gap or gaps in access to healthcare, education, and other essential services, while also boosting the digital literacy?
Thank you so much. I'm going to be very quick. Just a few insights. First of all, to make sure we all agree, what Scott said, and Mustafa also, is there's been in Africa amazing leapfrogs thanks to technologies, no regards of whatever other countries could have brought to Africa. The use of cell phones, of course, and fintechs. Of course, the leapfrog already happened with fintechs, and it started here in Africa. Okay, that's the biggest leapfrog in the world. It went quicker in Africa than in Asia. Okay. To answer your question, I think that there's, first thing, a very, very important thing is that there's the UA agenda for 2063 that plans a common platform, financial platform for exchanges in all African countries. It's very important. It's a goal that must be achieved, and it means that all governments, African governments, will have to tackle this issue all together and work on this issue all together to make sure that it's an easy market for everyone. So you will be able to exchange money very easily through fintech platforms. So governments and platforms will have to work together. Now, I would like to emphasize something. To develop technical platforms regarding the aspect of sovereignty, which is essential, and data protection, Africa can rely on open sources technologies. So they exist. For instance, we developed in France the website for the French Senate using a technology called Typo3. Typo3 is a German-based technology, but it's open source for the entire world. England is going to use this technology for all the government services that are going to be developed, and it's very easy to use this technology. And even though you cannot code, it's not very complex, but remember that you've got in Morocco the best engineers in the world. If you go to the best universities in the world, in France, in America, all the top foreigner students come from Morocco. So there won't be big issues into coding or developing new services using these existing platforms, which allow the countries to be sovereign. They don't depend on Google or whatever, or Microsoft or whatever technology company to develop their solutions and to own their own solutions. So if there's something I'd like to highlight is that make sure that you use the right tools to develop the services. And of course, if you want to onboard people, make sure these services are useful for the people. And the main issue to finish is that the best benefit from the technologies is that it brings people from informal system to formal system. So I'm sorry because they will have to pay taxes, but I think that to develop the countries, taxes are useful. And to bring people into the formal economy, to the formal system, can be amazing. And in some countries where people do not even have an address, technologies can provide an address. All right, thank you.
Thank you, André. Thank you for this insightful information. I would like to turn to the organizers. Do we still have some time? I'd like to ask my dear panelists for 1 minute, one recommendation each. Can we have, we have 5 minutes for the questions? Okay, and then we proceed with taking questions. Okay, so we have 10 minutes sharp. Okay, thank you so much. So, what would be your top one recommendation to, let me say, to Africa in order to thrive regarding its initiatives regarding fintech in general? Your first, your top one recommendation. Yeah, in order to enhance. Yeah. You want to start?
It's very hard to speak your whole vision and thought in such few time. My biggest priority for me would be, I'm afraid if you just give tools, AI, to people, you make great customers, not great leadership. And we need leaders. You have an opportunity in Africa to do not in accident. You can have a new vision. So maybe consider the global vision, the cooperation to see which tools do you need.
So empowering the leaders.
Yes.
Second recommendation?
Okay. I think Ishmael made very, very good comments regarding the challenges that they face in the industry. So what I would like to say to that is I think governments should pay attention to what he said, because many fintech companies are facing the same thing. Africa actually has 90% cash transactions. That's a McKinsey report that states that we do 90% of our transactions are in cash. We need to bank these transactions. And to do so, we need to listen to what the fintech companies are saying and set policies that will encourage people to come to the banks and to use the services of the fintech companies. Thank you.
Thank you, Ifi. Do we have a third recommendation?
I'll just say real quick to aspire to do better and leave nobody behind. The couple of other panelists have brought up the security pieces, and the security pieces could be a whole other panel and can be extremely boring. But how do you teach your neighbor who barely understands, or your grandma who barely understands and is starting to use mobile to make sure that they are secure and that they don't fall for all the scams that are happening in all over the world? You can do better, and you can leave no one behind.
Thank you, Scott. Go ahead, Mustafa.
Just wanted to add a comment on my fellow colleague here. Transformative, fintech to be transformative is cross-sectorial, right? And therefore the next wave of fintech is happening now. And for that, you can use AI, and AI, all you need to do is spend time on it, because you just need to be creative. It's not about coding anymore. It's just about creativity and time. And that's why the whole dimension is changing. There's no more experts today. So it's all about you spending time on it.
And training. Okay, Dr. Khalid, go ahead.
Just because it relates to AI. Sorry. I think Africa should embrace AI on the whole society level, not for a segment like they did before in IT or in Fintech or in anything. AI is something for the entire population. What they need to learn is how to prompt. AI will be like your assistant, and we will all have it. It's going to be available. It's like Excel, but 1,000 times more powerful. Powerful, more power. And for you to use that power, there are people who use Excel to add and subtract. That's not very useful. You can use Excel for more complicated formulas. Now imagine AI being 1,000 times more powerful. What you have to do and learn, everyone, even older people, everybody has to learn how to prompt AI, how to ask AI the right questions, to receive the right answers, and from that, develop the sector or whatever the topic they want into something more efficient.
Thank you, Dr. Khalid.
If we can be bold, I would.
Briefly, please.
Yeah, I would give every kid a mobile phone with no access to a few solutions such as TikTok or Instagram or Snapchat, no, no social media, and with educational tools.
Thank you, Andre. We're done? Okay, thank you, dear panelists. I'll turn to the audience. If you have any questions, kindly share your question with us. Kindly stick to 1 minute because we're really running out of time. And you address your question to the panelists you'd like to ask. No questions?
I think the message was don't be shy.
Okay. Don't be shy. Go ahead. Not a single question?
Can we ask them a question?
Yes, let's do that.
Who's using AI here in the audience, in one way or the other?
No one is using AI? They're
One?
all using GPT.
At least GBT, no?
Go ahead.
Ah.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Who here, one of you, who trusts the, the traditional banking system? 100%. No one trusts the traditional banking system? So why you don't have questions for Fintech? Okay.
So can I just add something?
Go
I
ahead,
think he mentioned that AI should be used across all sectors, and I believe that regulators should also incorporate AI in their regulatory activities. Thank you.
Thank you, Ify. So I think if we don't have any questions, we shall conclude the session. And thank you so much to my panelists for joining us today and sharing all these insightful information and taking the time to teach us new concepts and new ideas about Fintech. I was honored to be joined by you today, and see you next year.
check. C, yeah. Check one. أنا اليهودي أنا اليهودي.
وانا اللي كنت عندك هنا فين صافي رانا جاي.
Et
Mesdames et messieurs, la session Investing in Water and Agro-Industry va commencer dans pas longtemps. Merci de bien vouloir rejoindre la salle salée. Dans 10 minutes, ce sera l'investissement and growth Africa Must Believe in Africa dans la salle Rabat. Merci de rejoindre vos salles. Ladies and gentlemen, for the session Investing in Water and Agro-Industry, please join Salé Room now. And for the session of Investment and Growth in Africa Must Believe in Africa, please join Room Rabat in 10 minutes. Mesdames et messieurs, Investing in Water and Agro-Industry is starting now. Please join Room Salé.
Excellences, invités distingués, chers panélistes, mesdames et messieurs, bonjour et bienvenue à ce panel de haut niveau sur un thème fondamental pour l'avenir du continent africain. Nous sommes réunis ici à Rabat dans un contexte où les défis liés à la sécurité alimentaire, au changement climatique, à la pression démographique et à la raréfaction des ressources naturelles exigent des réponses audacieuses, innovantes, intégrée et structurelle. L'eau et l'agro-industrie sont au cœur de cette équation. L'accès durable à l'eau n'est pas seulement une urgence écologique, c'est un levier pour la productivité agricole, la résilience des territoires, la création d'emplois et la stabilité socio-économique. Parallèlement, l'agro-industrie représente un catalyseur de transformation locale des ressources, de réduction des importations, de montée en valeur ajoutée et d'intégration dans des chaînes régionales et mondiales. Mais pour libérer ce potentiel, il faut investir différemment, mobiliser les financements innovants, renforcer les partenariats publics-privés, moderniser les chaînes de valeur, intégrer les petites exploitations agricoles et penser à long terme. Nous avons la chance de tenir cette conférence dans une phase cruciale où le Maroc ainsi que d'autres pays africains jouent un rôle central et entame des chantiers structurants et une politique hydraulique ambitieuse. C'est autour de ces enjeux et dans ce contexte-là dynamique que nous allons dialoguer aujourd'hui avec des dirigeants et des leaders visionnaires, responsables publics, investisseurs, entrepreneurs, leaders en agritech, experts et acteurs de terrain, qui partageront leurs visions, leurs priorités et surtout leurs solutions concrètes. Merci à tous pour votre présence et pour votre engagement pour l'Afrique. Entrons dans le vif du débat. Permettez-moi d'adresser une première question à son Excellence, Monsieur Moussa Mara, qui, je rappelle, a été le plus jeune Premier ministre de l'histoire du Mali. Il a également été ministre chargé de la politique de la ville et de l'urbanisme. Vous avez été maire de Bamako et député, et vous êtes fort de 28 ans d'expérience en comptabilité et en audit au niveau africain, pas seulement malien. Vous êtes aussi auteur de nombreux ouvrages sur les questions de politique, de gouvernance, de sécurité et de développement. Votre Excellence, nous avons abordé en introduction la dynamique décisive et les chantiers en cours au Maroc. Pouvez-vous partager avec nous l'expérience malienne sur la question de l'eau et de la sécurité alimentaire, les réalisations certes, mais aussi les difficultés?
Bien, merci madame. Merci à Amadeus et aux organisateurs de cette importante rencontre qui aborde dans la question de l'eau et du système de management de l'eau une question qui est stratégique pour nos pays. Je vais peut-être commencer par féliciter l'expérience marocaine sous différents titres à la matière, puisque nous savons que votre pays est pionnière en matière de gestion de l'eau et notamment cette idée d'autoroute de l'eau qui permet un peu d'équilibrer entre les régions déficitaires et les régions excédentaires la question de l'eau. Et pour illustrer cela, beaucoup de personnes ne le savent pas, mais notre pays a par exemple 3 fois plus d'eau douce que le Maroc. Le Mali a 3 fois plus d'eau douce que le Maroc. Et pourtant, ce sont les mandarines marocaines que nous consommons à Bamako. Donc ça veut dire quelque part que malgré ce potentiel et cette richesse, nous n'arrivons pas dans nos contrées à avoir une gestion, je dirais, optimale de cette ressource qui est pourtant stratégique. La ressource en eau est beaucoup plus importante que d'autres ressources. Et notre pays est traversé de part en part par les 2 plus grands fleuves d'Afrique de l'Ouest. Nous avons le fleuve Sénégal sur 700 km, sur l'ouest de notre pays, et nous avons surtout le fleuve Niger sur 1400 km, qui traverse vraiment le pays du sud au nord. Et sur le fleuve Niger, nous avons réalisé un ouvrage hydraulique qui est le barrage de Markala, qui a été réalisé entre 1933 et 1947 pendant la colonisation et qui a servi en fait de point de départ à ce qu'on appelle l'opération Office du Niger. L'objectif étant de faire en sorte que notre pays puisse réaliser environ 1 million d'hectares en maîtrise totale de l'eau, irrigation en maîtrise totale de l'eau. Malheureusement, de 1947 à aujourd'hui, donc presque 80 ans, nous sommes à peine au quart de l'objectif qui était affiché, c'est-à-dire 250 000 hectares. Moitié réalisé pendant la colonisation et moitié réalisé pendant les 60 ans de l'indépendance. Et ce qu'on constate, c'est que malgré cet ouvrage, malgré ce potentiel, nous avons quand même de la peine à avoir une production agricole suffisante pour nourrir la population et une production agricole suffisante donc pour assurer la souveraineté alimentaire. Les causes de cette situation, peut-être c'est ce qui est le plus important. Nous avons évidemment ces dernières années la question de l'insécurité. Nous avons aussi les questions politiques, de stabilité politique et quelque part aussi de choix stratégiques par nos autorités qui les amènent ces dernières années à se détourner d'un certain nombre de potentiels investisseurs, ce qui nous prive de la possibilité de pouvoir réaliser le plein potentiel de ce projet. Nous avons la question du financement qui est une question clé parce qu'un hectare en maîtrise totale de l'eau, c'est autour de 5 000 €. Et donc, si on veut faire 1 million d'hectares, je vous laisse imaginer combien cela pourrait coûter. Mais à l'échelle internationale, ça reste quand même quelque chose qui peut être envisagé. Il y a la question lancinante de la gouvernance de l'eau et de la gouvernance du secteur par les autorités publiques. Et il y a l'implication, je pense, du secteur privé sur cette question-là. Je pense que nous devons travailler un peu plus sur toutes ces questions et envisager une plus grande implication du secteur privé notamment. On parle de partenariat public-privé. Il y avait eu dans le passé le partenariat public-public, cette fois-ci autour de ce projet, avec la Libye. Malheureusement, la chute de Kadhafi a stoppé ce projet parce que c'était déjà 100 000 hectares. C'était le plus grand projet sur la zone depuis l'indépendance du pays, mais la chute du guide libyen a stoppé ce projet. Ça veut dire que c'est possible de lancer des initiatives de ce type pour arriver à réaliser le plein potentiel. Mais ce qui est quand même sûr, et je terminerai par ça, Sans maîtrise totale de l'eau et en étant toujours dépendant de la pluie sur les questions d'agriculture, nous aurons toujours des difficultés à réaliser la souveraineté alimentaire, la sécurité alimentaire, qui constituent quand même les fondements de tout développement économique, industrialisation et autres. Ce potentiel existe et je suis sûr que l'exemple marocain peut aussi inspirer dans notre zone afin qu'on puisse réaliser des projets de ce type. Voilà, merci bien.
Je vous remercie, Votre Excellence, pour le partage de ces réalités-là, des réalisations, des projets en cours, des obstacles et aussi des perspectives optimistes peut-être de coopération afro-africaine, panafricaine et à partir du Maroc. Maintenant, je voudrais me diriger vers Madame Rita Mariaz-Nieber, présidente, directrice générale de Diana Holding, qui, je le rappelle, est un des leaders et pionniers du secteur agro-industriel du Royaume et qui est aussi philanthrope, reconnue pour votre engagement en faveur de la responsabilité sociale des entreprises et du développement durable. Vous avez reçu, Madame Zniber, de nombreuses distinctions internationales, notamment celle d'être reconnue comme l'une des femmes les plus influentes du monde arabe et d'Afrique. Vous êtes également fondatrice de la fondation Rita Zniber, dédiée aux enfants sans famille au Maroc, et vous dirigez l'association La Main Tenue Iqbal, qui vient en aide aux populations des zones préurbaines et rurales. En 2017, vous avez été nommé chevalier de la Légion d'honneur pour la République française. Vous méritez bien sûr tous les honneurs pour votre engagement autant dans le secteur privé, dans ce secteur-là, que dans le secteur social. Et ma première question pour vous, c'est que naturellement, on voudrait savoir et on voudrait pouvoir avoir l'honneur que vous partagiez avec nous l'expérience de votre groupe. D'abord, en tant qu'acteur incontournable dans cette transformation de l'écosystème agroalimentaire marocain, notamment dans cette nouvelle dynamique que connaît le Maroc.
Alors, la question est très vaste. Je vous remercie. Je remercie les organisateurs et vous-même, Madame, pour ce panel que vous allez animer en passant de l'un à l'autre, en essayant de tirer la quintessence de ce que nous pouvons donner. Vous avez abordé un sujet qui me tient à cœur, c'est celui du social, mais le social est le fondement aussi de la dynamique groupe chez nous, puisque le fondateur, feu mon époux, a toujours eu à cœur de créer de la richesse, bien évidemment en créant de l'emploi. Et c'est dans cet esprit-là que le groupe se maintient et continue d'investir et de résister dans le domaine agricole, parce que, comme vous le savez, on a quand même été frappé de plein fouet par la sécheresse, une sécheresse de 7 ans, avec pas mal de retard sur les unités de dessalement qui auraient dû voir le jour, parce qu'elles étaient prévues et qu'elles ont été entravées. Donc aujourd'hui, la dynamique que nous devons, autour de laquelle nous nous inscrivons et dans laquelle nous nous inscrivons, c'est vraiment de respecter l'environnement, le social et la gouvernance au service de ces deux principes. Voilà, donc bien évidemment, l'eau, comme vous l'avez si bien dit, puisque tout tourne autour de ça, doit nous aider à créer des liens entre nous, sans exclusion. C'est-à-dire, on ne peut pas prétendre gérer les ressources humaines on ne peut le faire qu'en étant inclusif. Et on ne peut le faire aussi que grâce à de véritables plateformes de connexion. Je crois qu'on les appelle Nexus, mais peut-être que je me trompe. En tout cas, les commissions interministérielles et qui font intervenir les communes jusqu'aux petits agriculteurs sont très importantes pour décider de l'avenir de l'eau, parce que c'est ainsi qu'on pourra assurer notre sécurité alimentaire et devenir un modèle réellement efficient à développer ailleurs. Voilà, merci.
Madame Znebel, je vous remercie d'avoir partagé les valeurs de votre groupe et qui sont au cœur d'un renouvellement du modèle de conception même du développement, parce que le social est souvent perçu comme parallèle à l'économique ou dans le domaine caritatif, alors qu'il peut être le point de départ avec une inclusion, une participation des communautés et la finalité, parce qu'à la fin, c'est eux qu'il faut servir et l'impact doit être partagé entre tous les segments de population. Donc, je trouve que c'est très intéressant pour nous de commencer cette discussion avec ce paradigme-là qui change un peu les références sociales et économiques. Donc, je donnerai la parole à notre invité, Monsieur Deji Abedou Soy. You are here? Yes. I will speak in English, so you won't need the headphones. So you are a partner at Sahel from the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You are a leading private investment firm focused on the food and agriculture sector in sub-Saharan Africa. You lead the Social Enterprise Fund for Agriculture in Africa, which provides capital to SMEs across 13 African countries, promoting sustainable growth in the agricultural value chain. You are also a strong advocate for African entrepreneurship. You are the author of Scaling for Success, Empowering African SMEs, and you are actively involved in mentorship, which I think is very important for our youth and the new generation. So my first question for you is, can you please share with us how Sahel Capital provides financing to agri-businesses across Africa? How do water constraints factor into your investment decisions? And how do you support clients in building resilience to water stress?
Thank you very much, and thanks to the organizers for having me as a part of this panel. So I think the topic of water and resilience, comes across multiple facets. Many times when people think about the issues around water, the first thing they think about is issues around drought. So, for example, if I look at the incredible work that Morocco has done, it's been built around the fact that there is lack of water. But as we invest across sub-Saharan Africa, we've seen that there are three major areas where the topic of water resilience always comes up. One is the typical one of lack of water, which is what you face in Morocco. There's drought, in many parts of sub-Saharan Africa. But the other two, the second is too much water. I'm sure that will sound like, okay, is there really a problem where there's too much water? But we have instances and situations where we've invested in a company in Nigeria, for example, and every single year there's a massive flood that comes when the dams are open and everything is wiped out. And, farmers as well, are also impacted because of that when all their farmlands are washed away. Then the third area is the area of pathogens in water, which also affects plants or livestock. So, for example, you're thinking about aquaculture and you're thinking about pathogens. So, some of the ways in which we have played in terms of supporting the companies and how I think there's more need to do is first in the area of providing irrigation. Because most of the companies we work with, they are usually small, they work with smallholder farmers. These are not farmers that are looking for massive irrigation infrastructure. So there is a play where you're looking to how can we provide finance small solar-powered equipment for these farmers to be able to use so that they can produce crop all year round. On the second phase, which is the issue around too much water, it's a very difficult one to solve if there's no public-private partnership in resolving. So, for example, the example I used of the rice farm we invested in Nigeria, what we've done is that we have built a dike. A dike is like a raised land, 25 meters above sea level. We built about 8 kilometers of dike around the farm. Now, this is money you would have preferred to drive into the operations of the business, not investing in infrastructure to prevent water from coming into the farm. But these are certain investments you need to do. But on the flip side, we also turned around that situation by diverting that water that is collected from the flood to be used to irrigate the farmland. So it was converted to irrigation. And then, of course, the third situation, which is the issues of pathogen, is just that you have to do a lot of technical due diligence to understand the problems that are prevalent. So if you want to invest in aquaculture or fish, for example, you need to be sure that the location of the pond, it's the right place, and the fish are not going to die over the next couple of years. I think summarily, as Sahel Capital, what we've decided to focus on is to make sure that before we make capital available into the sector, we do a lot of due diligence to ensure that the companies are well prepared, either against drought, against too much water, or against pathogens. But I think the direction we need to move is to make sure that that does not become a precedent for us to make a decision. It should be something that we can even invest in. For example, can we put money into building, preventing flooding happening? Can we put money into helping to build some of these infrastructures? But unfortunately, because of the mismatch of financing, we will rather make sure those companies have those things before we make capital available. So there's a lot more to do, but I will say again that the place of public-private partnership is extremely critical because some of these issues cannot be addressed independently.
Thank you very much for this very practical and concrete contribution. We will get back. I think some of the panelists have been seen would like maybe to react also and to interact with what you have said, which is also the goal of this discussion today. So I would like to now ask Professor Ghassan Awad, who is the Chancellor and Acting Provost of the Abu Dhabi University. You are a prominent scholar and leader in the academia. You served in many prominent positions in several universities in the Gulf, but also in the UK, including President of Applied Science University in Bahrain, President of the University of Wollongong in Dubai. And this university is particularly well known by Moroccans because we have many Moroccans who go study there for their masters, especially from Al Akhwan University. I think you know about that. You have been also Vice President for Academic Affairs at Gulf University for Science and Technology in Kuwait. You served as President and Vice President of the Chartered Institute of Building, but I've been really amazed by your power as a catalyzer in the scientific production and research. Especially, you have been able to generate more than 10 million pounds in research funding, and you have been publishing more than 92 papers in top-rated referred journals. And we know how much science is needed at this stage and how the private sector and public sector really need to base their policies and their projects on data and on best practices. So we are very happy you are here with us today. And my first question, which I purposely make vague in order to give you the space to really focus on your expertise or the insights that you value the most in this discussion. Why is investment in water and agro-industry now more than ever strategic imperative for Africa's growth and sovereignty and not just a development priority?
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Lamia. Of course, the investment is vital considering how much the sector contributes. Agriculture contributes $13 trillion a year as part of economic contribution. I want to look at the investment from three angles, please. First, the behavioral approach to investment. Some nations consume 600 liters of water per day. Average European consumption is 250 liters per day per capita. Some nations consume 10 liters per day per capita. So I think there should be a balance in terms of water consumption before we start looking at agriculture. We cannot afford to go forever consuming water for no reason with some nations while others suffer. It's number one. So it's a behavioral issue. Second, of course, technological. We can rely on technology now, whether in terms of irrigation systems, use of AI, Internet of Things, to maybe set up the right agricultural management system or irrigation management system. So there is some investment in that area. And of course, there's the environmental issue, and this is the problem. Nobody can control it ever. Climate change is there. Last year, we had torrential rain in Dubai, Abu Dhabi. This year, we did not have a single drip of water. Last year, Lebanon had plenty of water and snow. This year, hardly has any. Morocco, some years back, you had more water than now. So you cannot control the environment anymore. It was used technology and so on. So the investment has to be in the right place in these three areas. When you look at the problems globally, there are still 2.2 billion people who don't have access to clean water. Before they can go and really develop irrigation systems, you need to help them sort out their fresh water every day. 800 million don't have water, don't have access to proper sanitation. They don't have any sanitation at all, in fact. So we have to look at the problem from that angle. The investment by universities, if you look at the number of agricultural courses and water engineering courses in universities, very little, not many. So you're not producing a generation of leaders who can understand the issues and solve them. If I look at the audience here today, in the morning we had 600 people. In this session, we have very few. I don't know whether at the end of the day or lack of interest in the subject area. It could be both, but I think unless we put the case for it properly, we will be talking about this issue next year, in 10 years' time, and 100 years' time.
Thank you very much for your remarks and insights, always with the sense of humor that we appreciate with you, Professor Awad. Now, I would like to switch back to French. Donc, ma question, ça sera à vous, Monsieur Amin Zarouk. Donc, vous êtes fondateur et CEO de Green Apple Lab et de Arwa Solutions. Entrepreneur marocain, passionné par l'innovation et la technologie et engagé dans le développement économique du Maroc. Vous avez lancé plusieurs initiatives qui promeuvent la synergie et l'innovation au service de l'agriculture notamment. Je cite Green Open Lab, fondé en 2021, qui se concentre sur la modernisation de l'agriculture grâce aux technologies numériques et qui a été initiateur de la première ferme technologique au Maroc, Firmatech, et puis aussi Arwa Solutions, fondée en 2022, une start-up spécialisée dans l'irrigation intelligente. Donc Arwa développe des solutions IoT innovantes pour optimiser l'utilisation de l'eau dans l'agriculture. Donc naturellement, ma première question pour vous se focalise sur le rôle de la technologie. Donc sur la base de vos initiatives, de vos projets concrets et du cas du Maroc, quelle place pour l'innovation technologique, que ce soit irrigation intelligente, semences résilientes, digitalisation, dans la transformation des systèmes agricoles africains pour renforcer la résilience et l'impact?
Merci Lamia, et merci aux organisateurs de m'avoir donné l'occasion justement de parler encore de ce sujet qui ne peut jamais en dire assez. Effectivement, moi je viens du monde de la technologie, je ne suis pas agronome, même si mes grands-parents étaient agriculteurs, mais je n'ai jamais été dans le domaine de l'agriculture, et j'avoue que quand j'avais cette carrière dans le domaine de la technologie, dans l'automobile, dans l'aéronautique, j'ai atterri dans ce domaine, parce que je vais dire la vérité, avant que je sois passionné par ce domaine, j'étais frustré. J'étais frustré quand j'ai rencontré quelques agriculteurs et j'ai vu à quel point ils souffraient en silence. On mettait tout sur les épaules des agriculteurs. Ces agriculteurs qui devaient nous nourrir, devaient gérer les aléas climatiques et le changement climatique d'un côté, devaient gérer la pénurie justement de ces ressources naturelles, produire plus et gagner leur vie, gagner correctement leur vie, parce que l'agriculture, il faut le dire, attire de moins en moins nos jeunes, et donc c'est un véritable sujet. Donc quand j'ai vu ces défis, étant donné que je suis un technophile et je vois toujours des solutions en technologie, je voyais des solutions partout. Je voyais autour de moi le développement de l'IoT, de l'intelligence artificielle et beaucoup de choses. J'avais aussi une casquette en tant que
que président de la fédération du digital, de la PBI, entre 2020 et 2023. J'ai travaillé avec le département du numérique sur les domaines qui pouvaient, dont la technologie pouvait jouer un rôle important, un effet de levier. Et dans le premier du classement, c'était l'agriculture. Et donc c'est un mélange de tout ça qui m'a finalement poussé à travailler sur des solutions innovantes à base d'IoT et d'intelligence artificielle. Et c'est là où on a créé Arwa, qui est une start-up qui permet à un agriculteur qui n'a pas les moyens des grands agriculteurs de travailler et de pouvoir utiliser l'intelligence artificielle et l'IoT. Et à un moment donné, on a compris qu'il ne suffisait pas de permettre à l'agriculteur d'avoir accès à ces solutions simples, accessibles, pas chères. Il fallait travailler sur l'adoption. Donc c'est le mot qui me... je deviens obsédé par ce mot d'adoption parce que c'est la raison d'être de l'écosystème Green Open Lab. Le rôle, c'est d'accélérer l'adoption des nouvelles technologies pour l'agriculteur. Nous avons créé l'écosystème Green Open Lab, ce qui est une ferme de démonstration. C'est un démonstrateur agritech qui aide l'agriculteur à faire un pas vers la technologie, mais qui aide aussi les fournisseurs de technologie, et je parle bien de fournisseurs locaux de technologie, de comprendre les problématiques réelles des agriculteurs. Et chacun fait un pas vers l'autre. Et l'écosystème Green Open Lab, qui est d'ailleurs dans la province de Sefrou, est un véritable showcase de cette stratégie, cette volonté, et je dirais même cette obsession d'adoption, l'accélération d'adoption. Et donc, on a eu plusieurs initiatives. Je peux citer le Green Open Challenge, qui a été financé par l'INDH et qui permet à des agriculteurs en fait, on va aller voir les problématiques réelles des agriculteurs de tous les jours et en faire une banque de défis. Cette banque de défis va nous servir de matière pour aller vers les jeunes qui ont la capacité d'innover pour pouvoir innover et sortir des business pour résoudre ces problèmes chez ces agriculteurs. Donc, qu'est-ce qu'on fait? On va transformer les défis des agriculteurs au quotidien en opportunités entrepreneuriales pour les jeunes qui ont la capacité d'innover. Donc ce projet, il est en cours. On a eu une première édition qui a permis d'avoir trois innovations qui sont aujourd'hui disponibles et on a élargi le périmètre pour aller un peu plus vers la durabilité, etc. Et aujourd'hui, on a 27 projets, 27 défis. Et d'ailleurs, l'appel à projet va sortir dans quelques temps. Nous organisons aussi l'Agritech Expo, parce qu'à un moment donné, il y a la démonstration, il y a la proximité, il y a l'open innovation, mais il faut aussi showcaser et parler et réunir les deux mondes, parce que notre défi, effectivement, c'est d'être ce trait d'union entre ces deux mondes qui ne se rencontrent pas souvent, le monde de l'agriculture et le monde de la technologie.
Je vous remercie et votre obsession vous avez été précurseur en quelque sorte. Et je suis heureuse que vous ayez établi tout cela avant cette dynamique. Donc là, c'est vraiment l'opportunité de scale up, d'aller à de plus grande échelle, diffuser et donner l'exemple pour que la technologie soit totalement intégrée, ancrée dans toutes les innovations qu'on mettra en place pour ces deux problématiques. Donc merci et bravo encore une fois. I will switch again to English. So, Mr. Tumenta Kennedy, you are the founder and CEO of the African Business Information Bank. You are known for your leadership and initiatives both in Cameroon and in Germany. You hold the position of executive representative of the African Scientific Institute in Germany. You are also the senior advisor on global ethics and research at the Global Cooperation Council. Mr. Kennedy, you are a European facilitator of the African Union, African Diaspora 6th Region, High Council, and President of the Advisory Board of the Citizens Service Corps. You are also, I think, a pride, talking about African diaspora in Europe. You have been ranked in 2016 as the most influential contemporary African diaspora member in the world, together with Barack Obama. And you have been ranked also 7 times as the most influential African in Germany, to show your influence and work there. So my question to you is, how can African financial institutions like yours mobilize capital at scale to close the $40 billion plus annual financing gap for water and agro-industrial infrastructure, while ensuring inclusivity for smallholder farms? Many challenges in one question, but I think you have been banking all the information to be able to respond.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think that from the contribution of the different panelists, it is very clear that there is a big problem. Thanks the representative from Mali stating some of the basic challenges that we have, either structural planning, risks, and then strategically. What I want to show, like Professor, you rightly stated, if you look at the whole, that is one of the problems. We do not give attention to what matters: water, energy, as well as agriculture. We don't give. And if you don't give, you have to pay the price. And just to let you understand, we have approximately 3%, 0.3% of global pension funds being given to African agro-infrastructure. So just 0.3% African agro-infrastructure. So once you don't have the funds being given to agriculture, then it's gone. You find people like my brother here with the best technology. Once they don't have the money to bring the infrastructure, then we are wasting our time. The second statistic to show that that is the best place to put the money is that by bringing digital lending solutions, we saw 120% by IFC, 120% increase in benefit by small farmers, just giving them a little bit finance to them, and by using digital technology, you have 120% increase. So there is a disparity between perception. So what do I want to say? We want something. We want something, and just to let you understand, food is the greatest invention that God gave. If you are sick and you want to take medications, the doctors say, il faut manger quelque chose. Eat before you take medications, right? If you are a child, you are doing feast, you eat. So eating is one of the fundamental things, and that takes me to where finances come to. So if we want to attract investment, we have to change the perception. We have to provide trustworthy, credible information about the opportunity on the ground. So at the African Business Information Bank, we have understood there is money out there. Nobody knows where to bring this money. To whom do they bring this money? Who is trustworthy? Who is credible? How do you give them this money? So money goes where it is transparent, is credible, and is quasi-lucrative. But it's not really lucrative because in Africa we have that market and that opportunity. So what do we do there? Because you asked for specific. Therefore, we have to look for water bonds. So we need to find, we have diaspora bonds, you have sovereign bonds. We need to create innovative mechanisms like water bonds, water and agricultural bonds, that you attract finances to actually put finances to the right people. The second thing is blended finance and blended concession finance. So you see, the Green Climate Funds is a very interesting instrument, and we have seen during the past year that the African development banks and the others are trying to bring up bonds for energy, but the Green Climate Finance is I call it in quote, a very sexy instrument, because it is not supposed to be used to develop, but it's to push private sector to bring investment into the sector. So I think that if we give the right investment, the right information, credible, traceable, actionable information, where to take, then we were going to pull it. The second thing is the so-called African continental free trade. You know, most African countries import billions of basic goods and services they can produce. Morocco has shown the best thing by transforming a desert, taking water from the sea, transforming them and producing. As the representative from Mali, Your Excellency, Minister, Mali has the best fertile land, flat land that we can transform. But they don't have the problem that Morocco has. They have water around it. Cameroon has water everywhere. Every region in Cameroon is named after a water. But they import billions of products abroad, sometimes canned products, packaged produce that arrive and they have a lot of consequences. So, Madam, with the African Continental Free Trade Payment, Pan-African Payment System, we have seen that approximately 50% of smallholders farmers cross borders. You know, those who do business in sub-Saharan Africa as women cross borders. They go and sell, they bring back, they come back, and they learn many things. So when you reduce a payment system, it helps. The last thing I want to say is the digital disruption. You saw Kenyan with the digital farm product, they were able to give approximately 5 million farmers in Kenya were able to receive strategic resources to be able to scale their products. So what I'm saying is the money is there. I was able to move to Cape Verde recently with the Edemli Group, with the CEO. He was there with millions to invest in a country. And when we met the Minister of Agriculture, he says, I'm here. Even if it's 100 million euros, I'm going to put in technology, innovative technology to transform water to irrigate. The minister said, please, we don't have rain. We have 4 years, we are in the middle of the sea, but rain doesn't leave the sea and come. Rain falls in the sea and rain doesn't fall on land. So that is where technology comes. That is where Moroccan with the idea comes in that they can finance. So what we are saying, investors can come to a country with the millions, but if they don't see trustworthy, credible, right people to put it on the table, they are not going to bring. So what we are doing is to, first of all, make sure we solve our assignment, we create the right framework, which the governments are doing, we find the verified, certified, credible information, and once we have forum like that, I'm happy the CEO of Edemli Group is around, but they have money to finance, to bring technology, but they only go where they are trustworthy, credible. So to finance agriculture, Professor, we should be able to work together to find the right project, bankable project, and we go look for those investors with our technological partners to bring this money and finance inside. Money is not the problem. If you do your assignment just like Morocco did, investors are all coming to Morocco, so we have to help African countries in sub-Saharan African country to learn from this experience of Morocco and in what we call Ubuntu-nomics. So Ubuntu is I am because you are. Moroccan, just like Turkey has helped Europe, Moroccan has to look down, work with his brothers and sisters down, give them what they have, the experience they have learned, and then we can attract those investments. Thank you very much.
Thank you. No, actually what you are describing is really should be an obsession, as Amin Zarouq said. It should be the obsession of every political leader, and it should be the one top priority, and making that commitment a collective African goal to solve this policy framework, these reforms that need to happen at the basic foundational level in every country to make sure that whatever private investment opportunities find ground to harvest and to grow. So should be, otherwise we would just be repeating the same story over and over again or have some kind of fragmented results, but no real long-term impact. And we are also happy to have some investors with us, and you have quoted the admin group, and I put them in touch with the Prime Minister of Mali earlier on. So I think there is will, but we need leadership, and we need vision, and we need commitment, and we also need international organizations to help on that, with the technical expertise, with the support on this goal. And let's be optimistic, but I agree with you and Professor Awad, this should be mandatory. like this panel should be mandatorily seen in every political party and university. We'll do that with Brahim Fassiferi. We'll suggest that as a resolution from this panel. So my last question goes to Mr. Idriss Abid. Donc, on est honoré de vous avoir également avec nous. Vous êtes le directeur régional au niveau de Rabat Salé Kenitra du groupe Crédit Agricole du Maroc, qui est pionnier dans le financement agricole et qui a un modèle particulier, avec 22 ans d'expérience dans le secteur agricole, mais vous êtes aussi expert dans le domaine du management des banques, donc 2 expertises importantes pour ce dialogue aujourd'hui. Ma question, bien sûr, se concentre sur le Maroc. Comment voyez-vous que notre pays s'adapte face aux défis de l'eau et de la sécurité alimentaire, et aussi, surtout, quel est le rôle du Crédit Agricole du Maroc en tant que groupe bancaire, avec un statut particulier dans cette dynamique?
Tout d'abord, je voudrais vous remercier pour nous donner cette opportunité de participer à une conférence aussi intéressante qui traite un sujet très important, qui est l'eau et l'industrie agroalimentaire. Comme vous le savez tous, le Maroc fait face à un problème structurel de manque d'eau, et sous le guide éclairé de Sa Majesté le roi Mohamed VI, le Maroc a pu mettre en place un programme complet, chiffré, ambitieux, afin de faire face à ces problématiques. Et ça à travers de plusieurs programmes. L'un d'eux, c'est un programme 2020-2027 en mobilisant quelques 13 milliards de dollars comme investissement pour optimiser la gestion d'eau. Aussi, il y a l'accélération des chantiers, des constructions des barrages. Malgré que notre pays dispose de 150 barrages déjà en service, nous continuons cette politique parce qu'elle a fait ses preuves que nous pouvons traverser des périodes assez difficiles comme celles que nous avons vécues récemment. Donc, c'est de voir ici encore en voie de développement. Aussi, l'accélération des chantiers de dessalement de l'eau de mer pour faire face aux besoins essentiellement pour l'agriculture, qui consomme à elle seule 70% de l'eau douce disponible. Donc, ces projets-là ont pu être accélérés et encore, on a revu à la hausse les objectifs avec le dessalement de l'eau de mer avec 1,4 milliard de mètres cubes comme ambition d'ici 2030. Et aussi, dans l'agriculture, il y a un projet national qui est d'ici 2027, la reconversion de 850 000 hectares en irrigation de pointe. Tout ça, nous accompagnons au niveau de Crédit Agricole, vu que nous sommes une institution particulière, parce que nous avons double casquette, une banque universelle qui est présente sur l'ensemble des secteurs bancaires, et en parallèle, nous sommes un acteur historique de développement agricole et le monde rural au Maroc. Cette position nous permet de mieux appréhender ces enjeux, ces défis, ces challenges, et ainsi nous avons pu mettre en place des programmes, des financements d'ingénierie financière sur mesure, faire des programmes avec des institutions pour encourager une transition verte à travers des financements verts et le programme SIDAMA que nous avons pu développer avec l'Agence française de développement, notamment avec des incitations et des conditions très intéressantes. Aussi, nous avons des équipes sur le terrain qui veillent sur l'accompagnement, aussi bien nos gros clients, les gros agriculteurs que les petits, pour une meilleure inclusion financière, parce que c'est une porte essentielle pour accéder au monde de l'agriculture de demain, qui fait essentiellement de l'agriculture de pointe, de précision, qui nécessite un minimum de savoir-faire. Et nous, nos équipes, ont cette ambition d'encourager l'adoption de ces nouvelles technologies, parce que ce n'est plus un choix, c'est une nécessité pour faire face à l'avenir. Et à la fin aussi, nous partageons avec l'effort de l'État dans des programmes structurants pour accompagner l'investissement public-privé à travers notre expertise, notre recul et notre capacité financière pour financer des projets ambitieux.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Abid, pour cette perspective aussi de la banque, mais qui a une mission, on dirait, d'ordre public avec cette dimension rurale et agricole. Donc, en fait, avant de donner la parole à l'audience, je voudrais savoir si des panélistes parmi vous voudraient réagir à ce qui a été dit, rebondir sur des questions qui ont été abordées par les intervenants ou si vous voulez qu'on passe directement. Madame Znebar, allez-y.
Moi, si vous permettez, je voudrais attirer l'attention sur la nécessité d'adapter les cultures que nous décidons de développer en fonction de ce en quoi nous serons les meilleurs. À savoir au Maroc, je crois qu'il est illusoire de penser pouvoir être autosuffisant en blé ou même en orge ou en céréales de façon générale. Donc je pense qu'il faut aller vers des cultures à valeur ajoutée plus importantes pour dégager en retour un montant suffisant en devises et aller acheter nos céréales ailleurs. Bien sûr, en produire en quantité limitée, mais suffisante, en tout cas pour l'autoconsommation, en quelque sorte en tant qu'agriculture vivrière, pour les petits agriculteurs, et un peu au-delà. Mais je crois que l'utilisation de l'eau des barrages aujourd'hui, à cause de la sécheresse, est détournée de son utilisation primaire, parce que les barrages ont été faits pour aider les agriculteurs. Or, aujourd'hui, ces barrages servent à aider à l'alimentation en eau potable pour les villes, essentiellement. Les tours de barrages sont extrêmement limités. Tous les barrages aujourd'hui, même si nous avons eu des pluies en fin d'hiver cette année, et donc on peut considérer qu'on a un nombre de millimètres cette année plus important que les années précédentes, mais ce n'est quand même pas suffisant pour assurer le remplissage de ces barrages de façon à pouvoir à la fois subvenir aux besoins des populations urbaines et aux besoins des agriculteurs. Voilà, donc je pense que l'agriculture de pointe, l'utilisation des IoT, c'est très important avec l'intelligence artificielle, comme le disait monsieur, de façon à apporter des solutions d'expertise aux plus petits agriculteurs et non pas seulement aux plus grands agriculteurs. Voilà, c'est juste un petit point. Merci à vous.
Merci beaucoup pour cette mise en garde et aussi cet appel aussi à une montée en valeur ajoutée. Je pense que c'est très très important qu'on ne soit pas simplement dans la célébration ou dans l'accompagnement des dynamiques, mais aussi à mettre en garde de certains déficits dans des choses qui sont en train d'être faites pour ne pas être dans une approche corrective plus tard, mais prévenir dès maintenant et accompagner de façon saine et structurée. Merci beaucoup, Madame Znebel. Professor Awad.
Yeah, please. I mean, we listen to these discussions all the time, and this is reality on every single panel. We repeat the same issues. I'll tell you one thing. I think the problem is that of sense of urgency. I'll give you an example. When I was in Bahrain, I was president of Applied Science University, and COVID happened. Before COVID, I could not develop a single module online. The Higher Education Council in Bahrain will not allow me. When COVID happened, the sense of urgency was that if we don't go online, our children will not go to school, to university. So we have to go online. Unfortunately, with the issue of agriculture and water and the rest, I mean, if you look at the sense of urgency, 43% of the world lives on $5 or less a day. Almost 50% of the world population, and this is not a sense of urgency. 2.2 billion people don't have access to water. It's not a sense of urgency. When would you set up the sense of urgency to make the investment, to make the word fairer? I think Kennedy was absolutely right about there are all sorts of technology, things we can use. I don't think the will, the leadership is there, and this is reality. We can talk as much as we want. We don't have any action plans. We talk about 17 Sustainable Development Goals, 2030. We're going to achieve some of them and some we're not. We're not achieving them. This is reality.
Absolutely. So this sense of emergency needs really to be, so what's the solution? To stop water in every home so that everyone feels, and start in the government's buildings, stop water, and then it will be an emergency?
The solution, we're only using 1% of the available water on Earth. If we use 2%, we'll solve all the issues.
Thank you. Alors, Monsieur Zalour, vous vouliez ajouter quelque chose? Allez-y.
Merci. Alors, je voulais juste revenir à un point qui est essentiel à mon sens, qui est celui de l'agriculteur. Parce que quand on parle de l'eau, l'agriculteur, il est certainement il est accusé d'être celui qui consomme le plus. Je pense qu'il y a un volet qu'on peut-être cite pas assez, c'est l'encadrement de l'agriculteur. Parce qu'il ne suffit pas quand on parle de technologie, ça vient d'un constat, c'est qu'il ne suffit pas de mettre à disposition des outils accessibles, etc. Il faut l'accompagner par l'exigence. Alors, et ça, c'est extrêmement important. Moi, je viens du monde de l'automobile et je sais que nos delivery centers, on a réussi à devenir performants grâce à l'exigence de grands constructeurs automobiles qui nous donnaient les cahiers de charges et qui nous accompagnaient pour pouvoir délivrer un produit de qualité. Alors, le produit de qualité, c'est quoi? C'est un produit qui ne consomme pas beaucoup d'eau, qui ne consomme pas d'énergie, qui ne pollue pas, c'est-à-dire avec le concept qu'on connaît au Maroc désormais, qui est le crédit, enfin pas le crédit, mais l'indice carbone et la pénalité qu'on paye. Ça veut dire que l'agriculteur doit être accompagné avec la technologie, mais accompagné par quelque part un donneur d'ordre par le consommateur. Nous avons expérimenté un certain nombre de choses et nous sommes arrivés à un constat qui est extrêmement important que je voudrais partager avec vous. C'est qu'en fait, il y a un concept qui n'est pas très développé au Maroc et qui doit l'être davantage, c'est l'agrégation. L'agrégation, c'est-à-dire l'acheteur qui va donner à l'agriculteur, on va dire la commande, avec les intrants, en faisant le préfinancement de la campagne pour acheter cette récolte avec des conditions. Aujourd'hui, on parle c'est-à-dire si on veut exporter, il y a l'indice carbone. Demain, je suis persuadé qu'il y aura la notion de l'indice hydrique, c'est-à-dire le jour où on veut exporter notre production agricole, transformée ou pas, à un moment donné, au niveau des frontières, on va nous demander l'indice hydrique. Ça veut dire qu'on doit avoir une traçabilité de la consommation de l'eau depuis la semence, en passant par les engrais. D'ailleurs, il y a l'OCP qui fait un travail remarquable sur les engrais verts. C'est quelque chose, on ne peut pas demander aux petits agriculteurs qui constituent plus de 90% des agriculteurs marocains d'être conscients de ça. Il faut les accompagner et cet accompagnement, soit il est fait au niveau de l'État, mais je suis un petit peu sceptique sur le rôle de l'État sur cet aspect-là. L'ONCA fait un travail, El Moutmir fait un travail, mais la chose, à mon sens, qui va être la plus efficace, c'est l'agrégateur, c'est-à-dire l'acheteur qui va donner un cahier de charge et exiger de l'agriculteur le respect de ce cahier de charge, et c'est ce qui va tirer le niveau de l'agriculteur vers le haut.
Merci beaucoup pour cette excellente suggestion et cette approche marché, je vais dire, à l'adhésion des acteurs de l'écosystème, qui est une approche qui marche puisque c'est les impératifs du marché. Donc, je ne sais pas si vous voulez qu'on passe à la salle, à part s'il y a... C'est bon, donc on peut passer, on peut ouvrir. Donc, je vois beaucoup de jeunes parmi nous, peut-être aussi des étudiants, des acteurs également. Donc, s'il vous plaît, si vous voulez vous lever, vous présenter et poser votre question. Il y a une dame avec le micro. Donc, allez-y, monsieur et madame. D'accord.
Oui, bonsoir. Jawad Drissi, je suis conseiller en investissement. Ma question s'adresse à madame Znevar. Bon, je n'ai pas eu le plaisir d'écouter son intervention, mais il est connu que le groupe de madame Znevar est une success story. Elle a, je crois, maintenant elle couvre plus de 1000 hectares culture viticole. Ma question s'adresse à elle, donc je voudrais lui demander si elle est prête à entamer un nouveau chantier et aller vers une nouvelle culture très réputée au Maroc. Voilà, c'est tout.
Alors, je vous remercie. Le son, malheureusement, n'est pas parfait. Donc, de quelle culture parlez-vous? Vous voulez pas vous exposer? Très bien. Non. Alors, je vais quand même vous corriger parce que vous avez parlé de 1000 hectares, n'est-ce pas? Je crois qu'on est bien au-delà et que voilà, on est dans plusieurs secteurs agricoles, à savoir la production de fruits rouges, la production de fruits à noyaux, d'agrumes, d'huile d'olive, enfin d'olive pour faire de l'huile d'olive, ce que nous faisons, puisque nous faisons de la transformation et que nous exportons 60% de notre production à l'étranger. Voilà. Juste pour information.
Important. Et je vois qu'il y a des opportunités aussi qui se créent dans cette salle. Donc, allez-y, madame, la deuxième question.
Assalamu alaikum. Shema Al-Koufi, project coordinator in the agri-tech field at Green Apple Foundation with Mr. Ami Zarouk. So I would love first to thank all the speakers for their interventions. It's great for you to share with us your time and your expertise. Thank you so much. I have two questions. I would love to start with Mr. Awad about the sense of urgency that you said that we need to create. I would love to just highlight that maybe out of lack of interest, knowledge, and also kind of a little bit of negligence from the normal community, that they don't really feel the urgency of the matter. So isn't it the responsibility of either the expert or the youth or the people of the field to create that urgency? I mean, as long as we create that and we make them believe in that idea, for sure they will start moving. So that's my first question for you, Mr. And my second question is for Mr. Kennedy. First thing first, thank you so much for sharing with us your expertise. They're on point. And I would just love to highlight that for sure we have a lot of money out there, okay? And so like the point is how to direct it into efficient technology or efficient initiatives. So for sure, this highlights 2 points, like the farmer that want to highlight that technology needs technical expertise, etc., and also the person who will create that technology. So for that to happen, for sure, we need the money, but what we need more is a lot of initiatives out there, but there is not great follow-up. That's why a great supervision is very much needed to create the sustainability. That's why a lot of great projects, we hear about them, they disappear after 6 months, the maximum after they're created, or a little bit in a pile of 2 to 1 year and a half. And the farmer stays there with no sense of neither urgency, neither the right technical or expertise or information to follow up. So I would love to ask you, like, from your expertise, how do you see that coming up? Thank you.
I will answer the question about sense of urgency. There is a model by John Cotter. It's called the 8 stages change management model. Stage 1 is establish the sense of urgency. Step 2, establish the coalition. Step 3, develop the strategy, then do the quick wins and so on. When people don't feel, because with COVID, people felt the sense of urgency. People will not go to school anymore, to universities. So the coalition was, the Higher Education Council in Bahrain was phoning me to say, let's do the coalition now, let's work together to solve the problem. So you can see the coalition has happened straight away. What coalition we have now when it comes to water and agriculture? I mean, I can tell you about universities. Hardly any universities talk to each other. Every university do their own business. If you want to solve world problems, you have to work together with government, collective universities, not just on your own. So this sense of urgency, unfortunately, I don't feel it. If it was there, then people would have established a coalition to sort it out. We talk about it as much as we want, but we don't have solutions. Thank you for the question. Excellent question.
Thank you very much for that question. You're right. I think that sometimes those who create solutions fall in love with their digital solutions. You know that better. You create an app, you create a technology, and you fall in love with that technology. And you believe you have the best technology to solve the world's problem, but in the market, it tells you something else. What we have learned in the business community and finance community, most especially when it concerns Africa, sub-Saharan, is the consultant model. I mean, it makes no sense to go for a project alone. You have to bring the stakeholders, the different package, the full package. The financier has to be there, the technology has to be there, the farmers has to be there. Once you think multidimensionally, it acts. Let me tell you what from the African Business Information Bank, what we discovered. When the crisis in Russia, and the COVID and Russia and so on happened in Europe, the Russians, Ukrainian, and European crisis came up, what we did was, there must be something. We have to find the best financiers in Europe to look at Africa as the best alternative, you understand? And so what we did, we didn't go and look for the best people who can realize projects, because there are so many. We look for those who have money, and we tell them this money will not be productive in Europe. And then we ask them, can you bring those companies you have worked with them, you can finance them, can you bring them to partners with the African partners and invest? And it was not the project realization company that looks for the financier. It was the financier that has the money, that tells them, if you invest in Africa, if you go to Africa, we finance you, and then you solve the problem. So it's paradigm shift. Working in Africa, you need to change the complete way of doing things without losing basic economic principle. Efficiency is for everything, but the way you do it and the way you interpret efficiency. So consortium, getting the stakeholders, finding the right mix, and then taking them to do your project is the best. So I think that finding the farmers with the challenges they have is one thing. Secondly, I want to add with something that, Professor, we need to be thinking. Is solving the problem of water, we need to bring what is called a towing strategy. La stratégie de remorquage. I change in French. La stratégie de remorquage, on a besoin de cette stratégie dans le domaine agricole. On a besoin d'une entreprise qui est très forte, qui peut tirer les autres petites. On ne peut pas prendre une technologie, on peut donner à une petite entreprise qui tire le fort. Ça ne peut pas aller. On cherche l'entreprise qui est plus forte, on lui donne les mécanismes, les solutions, il tire les petites. C'est ce qu'on a fait dans le secteur automobile, on fait dans le secteur aérien, Airbus et tout ça. On met une entreprise qui tire les plus petites et le transfert de technologie. C'est pour ça que je veux demander à Madame, je serais très content, avec toute cette expérience que vous avez faite ici au Maroc, à tous les niveaux, s'il vous plaît, Madame, on a besoin de votre compétence à l'Afrique sous-Sahara. Il y a des milliers d'hectares. On peut vous faciliter de venir avec cette technologie, seulement votre présence. Dès que des petites agricultures passent à côté de vous, je suis sûr qu'il y a un transfert de savoir-faire qui vont passer chez eux. Je serais très content que vous, en tant que les grands agriculteurs qui ont les expériences dans plusieurs domaines, peut devenir les remorquages. Pas seulement au Maroc, mais peut devenir le remorquage dans les plusieurs pays africains avec les technologies qu'il a fait. On peut adapter avec les différentes technologies sous-sahariennes, mais au moment qu'on vous met au milieu et vous tirez les différentes petites, je pense que la transformation structurelle économique et la transformation familiale va être développée. Je serais très content si on discute, on revoit comment est-ce que le Maroc, parce qu'il y a une partie de chez nous qu'on doit dire comment le Maroc, avec cette idée, peut arriver, l'Afrique est soif. L'Afrique ne veut plus aller chercher les partenaires étrangers. L'Afrique veut passer avec sa famille Maroc, qu'il est revenu, qui veut tirer l'Afrique, et pardon, venir à l'Afrique centrale, peut-être Cameroun, peut-être Ghana, peut-être Nigeria, et on fait des projets dedans, là-bas, et on peut exporter avec la zone de libre-échange continentale. Pourquoi pas Mali? Mais il faut qu'on est dedans et on commence à transférer des technologies avec des pourcentages dans les sociétés. Ça va nous encourager. Je vous remercie.
Alors, je vous remercie, si vous permettez. Je voulais dire, je viens de rentrer d'Abidjan et donc du CEO Forum organisé par Jeune Afrique, l'Africa CEO Forum. Et j'ai eu l'occasion, le privilège de rencontrer la délégation officielle, enfin les représentants officiels du Bénin et du Gabon. Et j'avoue avoir été particulièrement impressionnée par ces jeunes avec un discours très clair, très engagé, très franc, faisant part de dispositions nouvelles qui viennent d'être prises dans ces deux pays-là en particulier, puisque ce sont les deux rendez-vous que j'ai pu organiser lors de mon séjour, et que nous avons des visites qui sont programmées normalement fin septembre, début octobre, on ne sait pas encore, parce qu'il faut aller avec évidemment tous les directeurs des différentes sociétés que nous avons, que ce soit dans l'agriculture, dans l'agro-industrie, dans la transformation, pour parler avec tous les responsables sur place et bien comprendre les mesures incitatives qui sont sur place, et puis identifier aussi, grâce à nos banquiers, puisque que ce soit au Gabon où ce Tijeli Wafa Bank est installé, comme au Bénin où Bank of Africa est installé, pour identifier le bon partenaire. Voilà, je vous remercie. Et puis on aura l'occasion peut-être ce soir au dîner d'en parler.
Excellent. Donc c'est une discussion qui se poursuivra. Je ne pourrai pas parler de clôture alors. Je pense que c'est au contraire, ce panel, c'est l'ouverture de plus de synergie, plus d'interaction entre les différents panélistes. Mais je suis très fière de nous en tant que groupe, parce que nous avons fait de cette discussion une conversation riche, passionnée, stimulante et honnête. Et ça, c'est, je pense, une combinaison qui est dans l'air du temps et qui est la seule à répondre aux aspirations de la nouvelle génération et aux exigences de la Terre. Parce qu'à la fin, c'est cela qu'elle nous dicte, l'action, l'urgence et la sincérité. Donc merci à tous et bonne continuation et bon dîner pour ceux qui nous rejoignent.
Merci beaucoup.